What's up, everybody? Mr. Dan here once again, and welcome back to another Martial Arts Monday review. This week, I'll be reviewing another film starring Chen Kuan-tai. I had to go back to Shawscope Volume 1 for this one. I've been reviewing a number of the Volume 3 films recently, so if you want to go check out some of those reviews, that would be great. And this is 1972's The Boxer From Shantung, starring, Chen Kuan-tai, and I believe like his first major role, he started in, I believe, about 1969, and this film came out in 1972. Also starring Ching Li as a potential love interest, David Chang as a gang member, a gang leader, I guess you would call him, and Ku Feng as another member of a different gang. Now, speaking of Ku Feng, I've been mentioning that in the Volume 3 box set, he's kind of like the MVP. He's in almost every movie. But going back to Volume 1, I really like what they do here, because they have they profile each actor who has prominent roles in these films. So for Chen Kuan-tai, it starts off by saying, there are actors who make kung fu movies, and then there are martial artists who can act. And Chen Kuan-tai is one of those, along with Lar Kar-leung, who does the fight choreography for this film, and Bruce Lee. Okay? So, yeah, he was fighting in martial arts tournaments in the late 60s when he was spotted by Chang Cheh, the director, and he immediately started to appear in Shaw Brothers films, and he was a favorite of Chang Cheh, and really, over the years, has been evolved into a fantastic actor and just an all-around beloved figure. And there's a great deal of special features on this disc where he talks about some of those early days, really, really entertaining stuff. And his acting is really good in this film. He kind of plays a country bumpkin who comes from Shantung, a small town, to Shanghai. He's kind of washing out carriages for people. I guess this is early 20th century, I'm guessing. And, making a living there, he kind of runs afoul of some goons. He kind of stands up to them. He catches the eye of David Chang's character, who's dressed well and who's, chauffeured around in a fancy schmancy carriage. And David Chang's character throws a coin at his feet, and he doesn't pick it up at first. And then they have a sparring session, and they kind of gain the respect of each other. And Chen Kuan-tai's character of Ma says, I'm going to be like that guy. Well, the David Chang character kind of goes out of the picture for a lot of the movie after that, and he kind of runs afoul of another gang and quickly starts to gain respect of the local population. He has a friend with him who ends up being his chauffeur when he himself purchases a carriage, which is like a status symbol. And he begins to challenge this local gang, and they get a little bit of an ass kicking, and then he enters into a tournament that they are hosting, and they're known as like the champion gang. So I think Ku Feng's character is like the second champion. There is one kind of tournament that they have where a foreign fighter, I think he's supposed to be like a Russian wrestler, but he's played by an Italian wrestler named Mario Milan, I think his name is. Quite a large fellow. You pay your 20 cents, but if you win, you get a big pot. So this guy's just throwing people around. So the Chen Kuan-tai character challenges him, and of course beats him, and gains some notoriety. And then people start calling him Boss Ma, and they start paying him protection money. Meanwhile, he had been making eyes at a young lady, a musician played by Ching Li, who is the daughter of a tea house owner. And he's the kind of guy, like, he comes in, when he gives you a look, everything that he's thinking. He's thinking, I want to get with you. And then she sees him sort of acting like this junior boss on the way up, and she kind of gets very disappointed in that. Like, oh, he's going to be another thug. Well, he has a great deal of respect for the David Chang character, and at one point there's a very violent confrontation that happens. And, this film really it has some universal themes that we've seen in many mafia movies, Yakuza movies, gangster movies. A young guy on the way up. This film is very similar to Chang Cheh's film that he made a few years later called The Chinatown Kid, which is also in this Volume 1, which starred Alexander Fusheng. That film was about 90 minutes. This one takes a little bit longer to tell a similar story. And it's well-paced throughout, and the ending climax goes on for a while. That's a big part of it, and it is a absolute bloodbath. Oh my gosh. So for years, people were seeing shorter versions where they took out some of the violence and they just shortened it up. I think there was a German version, which was like 80 minutes. I don't know how they could have chopped it down to 80 minutes. At any rate, there's a scene where somebody gets ambushed, which reminded me of like the toll booth ambush. I forget if that's in Godfather or Godfather 2, but it was, this is with carriages, different, not the same kind of technology, but somebody stops a carriage suddenly and there's an ambush and it's quite bloody. This is a Chang Cheh film, so it's bloody. When people get stabbed or chopped, they don't go down easily. And in the Volume 1 book, Lockhart Long described it as, a hero, he's going to hold his guts in and keep fighting. He's not going to go down right away. And that's pretty much what happens here. People have things, axes and things, embedded in their bodies, and they're still fighting. And this guy, he's almost amazed at his own success when people start calling him Boss Ma and everything. But once he starts going up, at one point, he tells his friend, who's now his chauffeur driver, he's going to go into the enemy territory and tell them he's going to open up a casino, which other people have tried and they've ended up dead. And he tells his friend, listen, if I don't come out alive, sell the carriage and go back to our village. So it's like all or nothing. There's several sort of moments like that in the film where he just goes for it. And, it's a great performance. It's a great Chang Cheh film. And what I was saying about the pacing was each scene is just sort of allowed to play out. The characters will walk in, sit down, talk to each other. Certainly some of that could have been trimmed, but that's just the way it is. And, I think especially as the build up to the final confrontation happens, it gets pretty tense. Perhaps if some of the other scenes moved along a little quicker, that would have been even a little more, the build up would have been a little more effective. But, he tells a similar story to this in The Chinatown Kid in 90 minutes. So if you prefer that with an even more modern setting, 1970s San Francisco, I would say watch that film. But if you have a little more time in your hands and you want to watch some great acting and martial arts sequences, the Boxer from Shantung is an excellent film. Can't recommend it enough, but yeah, it is a bit of an investment. Have you seen The Boxer from Shantung? What are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments below. Come back again another time for another Martial Arts Monday review. Thanks.